From People of Bernie, a verified account on Twitter, and they wrote this, quote, "You're either Antifa or pro-fascism. There is no middle ground. The question today isn't which side you're on. That question has already been answered. We know who sided with fascism. Don't let them escape it. Don't let them escape it." By that point in time, Antifa had been beating people up, burning down buildings, and one of their professed members had even killed someone over in Portland. And so by all metrics, that was a threat. But inside of Twitter, it's not interpreted that way. It wasn't taken down because, after all, it's just a metaphor. Another great example was brought forth in a congressional hearing just yesterday, where you had Congresswoman Nancy Mace confront an activist about the rhetoric that she was posting on Twitter. Take a look.
Only a few weeks after the attempted attack on a Supreme Court justice on June 25th, one of the witnesses, Alejandra Caraballo, tweeted out the following in response to a decision on abortion overturning Roe v. Wade, and I'll quote directly from the tweet: "The 6 justices who overturned Roe should never know peace again. It is our civic duty to accost them every time they're in public. They are pariahs. Since women don't have their rights, these justices should never have a peaceful moment in public again." So my last question today of Ms. Caraballo: do you stand by these comments, this kind of rhetoric on social media, and do you believe it's a threat to democracy?
Thank you, Representative, for the opportunity to clarify and provide context to my tweets.
I have a question, is it yes or no? Do you believe your rhetoric is a threat to democracy when you're calling to accost a branch of government, the Supreme Court?
I don't believe that's a correct characterization of my statements.
Though. Did you not tweet that you thought that the Supreme Court justices should be accosted?
What I'm saying is that is not an accurate characterization of my statements.
On June 8th of this year, a man was arrested near Justice Brett Kavanaugh's home in Maryland. He told law enforcement officers he wanted to kill a Supreme Court justice. He was found with a knife, with a pistol, 2 magazines, ammunition, pepper spray, zip ties, a hammer, crowbar, and duct tape.
And just as you guessed, that tweet, the tweet in that video, was never taken down by Twitter, regardless of the context of real death threats being lobbied against conservative Supreme Court justices. And regardless of how that tweet might have been interpreted by someone, it still remains up. That's just how these things work. And frankly, there are countless examples like this over on Twitter. And what they all add up to is that when you begin to have the power to ban people based on some interpretation of their speech rather than what they actually said, well, that's fairly dangerous. And it'll inevitably give huge amounts of censorship power to whoever is controlling the platform. Because when they want to censor someone, like for instance President Trump, they can make up a reason and say that his words can be interpreted as a call to violence. But when you have an activist tacitly threatening the lives of Supreme Court justices, well, those very same Twitter employees, they can turn right around and say that that tweet didn't have an actual call to violence, and it can be left up no problem. That's the reality of basing decisions based on things like interpretations rather than facts. And now, at least thanks to these internal Twitter documents, we know how these things play out. Apparently, in the upcoming Twitter files, which will be released very soon, they will revolve around Twitter's COVID and vaccine-related censorship, and so I'm looking forward to those. Until then, if you'd like to go deeper